Okay, Josh, you're going to get another video here of a V1 analysis of everything we're going to talk about in this email. But what you're also going to see is that, as I've referenced in the analysis, you've got a lot of things that are very, very similar to Steve Stricker. He's actually a phenomenal pitcher and chipper of the golf ball. There's just a couple glaring differences, a little bit of the geometry of the swing should be fairly simple to clean up. So the first thing that I want to talk about is from the down the line view. Okay, and one of the differences that's noted in our analysis is going to be this trail arm, your right arm. So in the backswing, what we see is you've got a very locked out, extended right arm that's off the body a significant amount. We certainly see that by the face-on view of how wide this arm gets. But the problems start occurring is that right arm stays long. And the club gets a little bit behind us this way. Again, you'll notice you're a touch flatter than Steve Stricker is due to some right arm bend here. So this is where sort of the problem starts, really the trail arm, which should be a lot of the motor of this 20, 30 yard pitch. So what you currently have is a right arm that's very extended and very out in front of us. What that starts in downswing is now this right arm has to start working downward and inward way too much. And we certainly see this position in your down the line view of your videos that you sent me. We see the club head and the grip exiting very, very low, very, very left, under the static plane line that we draw on there, which is actually quite difficult to do and make contact with the ball. But from this arm being way too locked out and in front of us, it's really the only place this right arm can go. It stays long and it drags across down here. We're going to get weird contact. We're not really going to control our speed. What we see from face on as a product of that, and again, we'll definitely see the difference between Stricker and yourself, is once we've made this backswing and that right arm stays locked out, as we make the downswing, it's not allowed to operate properly and work with the pivot of the body to control the flight and the speed of that ball. You'll see that arm's going to fold up, and you see Stricker the same. There's a little bit of fold and there's a little bit of throw or pitch of the club head, a little bit more in a drawing fashion, a little bit more down the line, certainly above that static plane line. We'd see Stricker's club work to the golf ball and then work up a little bit more linear towards the target, which is the opposite again of our hand path having to drag down and across what we currently have. So we see that at impact and through impact, there's a movement of the arms and body, but because of the direction they're moving and having to keep that club head open to accommodate the drag of this grip, we don't ever see our actual head get to rotate out. Big indicator that we are just dragging the club downward and around here. So we lose a little bit of control of the bounce, we lose a little bit of control of the strike, and we're just pulling the arms and they're flying by us. Whereas we certainly see better pitchers and chippers of the ball, this right arm stays a little bit more attached to the rib cage for a little bit longer period of time through the strike as it folds up and tosses the club again a little bit more towards the target. So the opposite being we see our right arm pass the body drastically. This is currently where we're at. What we'd love to see is that right arm and the torso operating a little bit more in unison. You're going to see a little bit of fold. You're going to see a little bit more of a hinge up. So the drill there is actually pretty simple. You're going to take a little towel or a glove and put it pretty much quartering your rib cage here. Not on the side, certainly not in front, but just right there, kind of 45 degrees. And we're going to place the arm, and this is going to be fairly low, not up here high, but kind of just above the elbow. Okay, we're going to place a towel right about here, and you're going to hit some small pitches where the arm has to stay on this side of the torso, and we can't drag the arm across the body. Obviously, I've lost that connection from the quarter of my rib cage to the elbow there. What that's going to do is teach you this torso and the arm have to operate together. And we're going to start tossing the club head a little bit more instead of having this rigid drag of the club through. So down the line view, as we see that, we'll certainly see that club working a little bit more in an upward drawing fashion that we see out of most of our good pitchers and chippers. So you got a ton of really good stuff going on, as you see in the analysis. Very, very similar to a Steve Stricker, but it's really just a right arm separation from the torso to where you're trying to land that arm at the same time, trying to turn at the same time, trying to hit a ball. There's a lot going on with that, so I'm sure you get a ton of inconsistency. I bet you get a lot of shots that ride up the face because you're not allowed to put pressure on the golf ball and release that pitch. So you're getting a lot of inconsistencies, probably in the strike, probably in the ground interaction. And it's this right arm not behaving properly. So there's your first drill. Towel or glove, quarter of the rib cage right there, hitting some 10, 20-yard pitches. And then as you get comfortable with that, we can certainly create a little bit bigger movement. That right arm is going to be much more in tune with the body. As you'll see, Stricker does, a lot of other good pitchers and chippers. If you go through YouTube and you want to watch a bunch of the guys, you're going to see that right arm moving with the torso, not across the torso so much. So work on that drill. Your feeling there is much more of almost hitting, you're not going to, but almost hitting up on a nice high draw so that the right arm gets to fold up as it stays on the torso and deliver some loft and a square face to the ball, versus the dragging inward of the grip and the face staying open. That right arm is crossing our body. So huge amount of attention to how this right arm and the torso work a little bit more at the same rate. You're going to see way more pitchers and chippers collecting their golf club right there with a sort of a bent right arm in that position than you ever will seeing the grip disappear with that hand path going not up at all, but just flat and around. That's certainly going to create some issues for the strike. So we're watching that right arm and the torso.